The NHL draft's first round is over. It's about 10:30 at the time I'm recording this, so it has been over for a couple hours now, and it was a very interesting draft to say the least. There was a lot of changes in the plots that were expected to happen. There was a lot of changes in expectations of where players were going to be going. So it was a pretty interesting first round to say the least. And for the Blackhawks, it was definitely very interesting. They went into today's draft with no first round picks, ended up leaving it with 3 first round picks. And I can say that I'm pretty happy with the drafting the Hawks did here. I'm not too upset like I usually am with a lot of their draft picks. I can actually say I kind of like Kyle Davidson's first draft with the team. They also made a couple trades that we also need to talk about. So this is going to be a very interesting season to say the least. Now, let's start off with the 7th overall pick, which was defenseman Kevin Korchinski out of the WHL Seattle Thunderbirds. And this was a pick that had very mixed reviews early. A lot of people said that this was a good pick for the Hawks. It was a good value pick. A lot of people felt like it was a little too early. They probably could have gotten him with the 13th pick. And I was somewhere in the middle with that. I do like his abilities. He's a very good offensive-minded defenseman, put up 65 points in 67 games this season with the Seattle Thunderbirds. So I like his ability to join the rush. I like his ability to create offense, kind of similar to Adam Boquist when he got drafted. So this is an interesting pick. I don't hate this pick at all. I think only time's going to tell. He'll probably need a year or two to really develop into the player that he's going to be. So it's gonna be a little bit for us to really tell with this pick. But when it comes to value, I don't hate this pick at all. I'd probably give this grade about a B. Now, we need to talk about the trade that kind of shook everything up for Chicago, and that was the 3-team trade, which involved the Canadiens, Blackhawks, and Islanders. So the Canadiens were going to be sending defenseman Alexander Romanov as well as the 98th pick over to the Islanders. In return, the Islanders will be giving up the 13th pick. Then the Canadiens were going to be flipping the 13th pick to the Blackhawks in return for Kirby Dach. The Canadiens also threw in the 66th overall pick. So my initial reactions to this trade was I wasn't exactly mad like a lot of Blackhawks fans were, because I think Kirby Dach has been incredibly frustrating in his time in Chicago. Like, he has been made me more angry than he has happy so far. I don't think he's anywhere near that 3rd overall pick hype and expectation so far. I don't think he's anywhere near that. So I wouldn't say I hate this trade at looking at it right now. And I think the player that they ended up picking with that 13th overall pick kind of eases the sting for a lot of Blackhawks fans when it comes to this Kirby Dach trade. And don't get me wrong, I still think Kirby Dach could be a good player in the NHL. I don't think he's going to ever live up to the 3rd overall pick, but I do think, there has been a lot of circumstances in his career so far that have definitely held him back. His rookie season, a COVID pandemic comes in. They have a huge stoppage. 2020, his second season in the league, ends up breaking his wrist in the World Juniors and missing almost the entire year. And then 2021, it just was a bad year. Like, he just didn't play very well. Only 26 points in 70 games compared to guys like Jack Hughes, who were also in this draft class, guys like Trevor Zegras, having monster seasons. So it didn't look good for Kirby Dach in Chicago. I don't think he was ever going to develop very well here. They expected him to immediately become a top line centerman, and I don't think that was ever going to happen. They even tried moving him to winger because things just were going so bad this season. So I don't mind them trading Kirby Dach, even though he is very young. I think Frank Nazar in return is an amazing steal for the Blackhawks. And that is my transition into the next player I want to talk about, which is Frank Nazar, who is the 13th overall pick, coming from the U.S. developmental program in the USHL, currently committed to the University of Michigan. And there was a overall consensus that this was an A-plus pick. This was a home run pick by Kyle Davidson. He's a player who just fell right into their laps. Like, he was a guy who was the top player on the board from, I'd say, about pick 8 to pick 13. Like, I don't know how he fell this far. He is an outstanding player. I absolutely love the fact that the Hawks were able to get him. He tallied 70 points in 56 games this season in the USHL. He is small, but at the same time, he's fast, strong skating guy who can score. So I absolutely love Frank Nazar. I love seeing him in a Blackhawks uniform. And I think in a couple years from now, we're going to see him as an elite forward in the NHL. Now, things went quiet for a little bit until the 25th pick, where the Blackhawks made a trade with the Toronto Maple Leafs for goaltender Peter Mrazek, as well as a 2022 first round pick, which they ended up spending on defenseman Sam Rinzel. So, let's first look at the trade. The Hawks ended up giving up a second round pick, which was, I want to say, the 38th pick. So, no, they do have a load of second round picks, so I'm okay with them giving that up. Peter Mrazek is, I guess, your goaltender for this season now. He had an 888 save percentage and a 334 goals against average. Like, he wasn't very good in Toronto this season. The last couple of years have honestly been pretty bad for him. The injuries have gotten to him, the inconsistencies have gotten to him. But it looks like he's going to be your goaltender for this season for the Hawks, which I don't know if that's really exciting for a lot of fans. Then we look at the trade, which was for the 25th pick. Defenseman Sam Rinzel ends up being selected by the Hawks in this spot. And Rinzel is a guy who split time both in high school, playing at Chaska High School in Minnesota, also at with the Waterloo Blackhawks of the United States Hockey League. He's currently committed to Minnesota. He has had his stock rise a little bit, but he is no long-term prospect. He's not a guy who's going to make an immediate impact in the NHL. He is going to be a bit of a project player. This is a pick I'm a little more mixed on. I don't know if this was the greatest pick. I personally preferred some other defensemen over him, but I actually even preferred some other forwards over him. But I won't really complain. I guess we'll have to really wait and see with him, since he is a bit of a project. So this was a very busy day for Blackhawks fans. A lot of trades to kind of comprehend and digest, a lot of new faces when it comes to prospects, and this is exactly what the Blackhawks need. I know a lot of fans hate the fact that the team has given up on guys like Alex DeBrincat and Kirby Dach. And yes, no, maybe they were a little premature, maybe they acted a little quickly with the Alex DeBrincat trade, and no, that's just kind of a part of the rebuild, though. I mean, this is a team that's going to need to go through a very long-term rebuild. It's going to suck, but it is going to have to happen. Like, this team is not going to win right now. They need to rebuild this team. They need to get in new prospects. People are going to criticize them. They're going to get criticized. Like, that's what's going to have to happen. I like Kyle Davidson's approach to what he's doing right now. He's giving up guys, or he's trading away guys who have the most value. And I've said for the longest time, this is what this team has needed to do. They should have done this back in 2020. They chose not to. Stan Bowman stayed stubborn, and now they're in a horrible situation where they're going to need to completely blow everything up. So I don't hate what Kyle Davidson is doing here.